Hey, everybody.
Hello.
I'm going to give it just a few seconds and let people trickle in here, but appreciate you joining us. I will go ahead and get us prepped up and get the screen ready to share. Take just a moment, let some more people get in here. Tommy, Ron, Dave, Chrissy, nice to see you guys. Thank you all for joining us today. And this ready to go, and then we will get started up here very soon. All right, we'll give it just another minute or so. Folks, if you want to, feel free to throw some info in the chat if you want to tell us where you're at or if you want to meet some friends here. Always happy to help you out. If you have any questions as we go through this, do us a favor, use the Q&A area, please. More than happy to take some questions at the end of this. But kind of the process we'll go through today, we'll do some brief introductions. We'll talk a little bit about PriceLabs. We'll talk a little bit about Boom as well. Hey, Ron, nice to see you again. Talk a little bit about Boom. We're also going to talk a little bit about how Florida is performing right now. So the data that we'll present is kind of a broad view of Florida, so looking at the whole state. But Chad and I both know the markets very well, so we'll dive into those micro markets in there as well. So real quick, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Kyle Driskell. I'm a senior solutions consultant with PriceLabs. Basically, I work with enterprise level customers to understand the tool, implement their strategy in the tool, and then also help a little bit with our education department as well. And I am very happy to be joined by Boom's Chief Revenue Officer, Chad Blankenship, who over the past year or so developed a nice little friendship with. Looking forward to this. So Chad, take some time, introduce yourself, and while you're doing that, I'm going to
Yeah.
pull up our presentation deck.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, my name is Chad Blankenship. I'm been in the vacational industry since '09. I was the chief revenue officer for Southern Vacation Rentals and then VP of Revenue Innovation for V Trips. Left in 24, started working for Boom and have joined Boom full time as their chief revenue officer. Super excited to talk to you guys about the Florida markets, what's going on, and also, kind of how Boom and PriceLabs, really collaborate and work together to really drive the industry forward. So super excited to be here. Thank you everyone for joining.
Absolutely. Really appreciate you all joining us. So again, today we're going to talk about that PriceLabs and Boom connection, how we work together, how you can integrate the two tools. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about Florida as well. So again, I'm Kyle, got Chad here as well. We're going to start off with a brief overview of PriceLabs. If you know about PriceLabs, you've probably heard this before, but I like to go through it pretty quickly so we won't spend too much time. We'll do a quick introduction of Boom. Chad's going to get to go in and talk about how Boom's performing right now, what they're doing with AI, and how they're really kind of changing the game with PMSs. Then we'll talk a little bit about how we work together, talk some Florida information, and then we'll give you some tips in PriceLabs, what you can do with those tools to kind of make your life a little bit easier when it comes to the revenue management side. Then at the very end, everybody kind of gets a special offer as well. So if you are not fully aware of what PriceLabs is a revenue management and dynamic pricing solution, pretty much for anything in hospitality. You've got RVs, you've got a boutique hotel, you've got short-term rentals, you've got mid-term rentals, you've got long-term rentals. PriceLabs can work for you. We've been around for a little over 10 years now, and we currently price about 550,000 units daily, pushing closer to that 600,000. But we are a fully global company. The way that we go about our data processing and scraping, we don't go into individual markets and start there. We take a look at the whole globe and work from there. We also got teammates kind of all across the place. We're a fully remote company. I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. Our headquarters is Chicago. We technically don't have an office anymore because after COVID, we just went fully remote. But a majority of our team's up in Chicago. Then we've also got a global presence with representatives all over the states. So one of the things that I do want to point out on here, last year for the STR Strive Awards, we did win the winner, or we were the winner of the best supplier for 2025. Very proud of that. Hopefully get to see some extra accreditations for PriceLabs coming up in the next year. So why would we want to go from a fixed pricing method to a dynamic pricing method? Excuse me. I can I can speak on this myself. Prior to PriceLabs, I was a revenue manager for a really large property management company where the processes were set up in a PMS. We use spreadsheets. Every single day, we're updating spreadsheets, loading it over to the PMS, doing a bunch of manual work, and we were missing opportunities. That to me is probably the biggest thing. I was not only missing opportunities for, being able to go in and see how can I improve my listings, but also like, hey, I just completely missed out this demand shift. So to me, one of the biggest things that you're going to get by choosing dynamic pricing is that immediate ability to pick up when the market shifts. If all of a sudden Thanksgiving's getting crushed and you're not going to have as many people, we need to be able to react quickly. That's one of the things that Price Labs and dynamic pricing helps you with. So again, I'm not going to sit here and read the page to you right here. This deck will be available for you afterwards. If you have any questions about why you should choose Price Labs outside of what we've got listed here, shoot us an email. Always happy to help. Anybody that's here, feel free to reach out directly to me. My email is kyle.driscoll@pricelabs.co. But if you have any questions, broader questions, you want to really get in and learn a lot about Price Labs, you can also email support@pricelabs.co and we'll help you out there. Now, how does the Price Labs algorithm work? I'm not going to spend a crazy amount of time here, but I love our process. And our process is very, very accurate. So we start with our data collection. We're scraping data from Airbnb, from Vrbo, from Booking.com. We also maintain our own events and holidays database, as well as purchase data from key data. So that's kind of like that background check, so to speak. After that, we start our processing. We go and remove blocks. We pull out any duplicate listings. We do ghost accommodation removal. There's all types of little things that we're pulling out. So basically, we're going through and saying if it's bad data, don't get it in there. Very, very clean process that Price Labs has. After that, you get into the intelligence. That's us looking hyper locally at you. So while this presentation is going to be for the whole state of Florida, if you are in the Panhandle, you're not going to even, let's say you're in Destin, Florida. Your properties will be comped to like properties that are close to you. We're not going to get over to Miramar Beach. We're not going to look in Gulf Shores. You're definitely not going to have Miami impacting you or anything like that. So we're looking hyper locally, trying to compare apples to apples, so to speak. The next step that you get into is that user control that you have. So the way I like to say it, I think PriceLab's tool gets you 95% of the way to having really, really great revenue management. The other 5% is super impactful though, and that's the user strategy. That's what you know about the market. That is understanding, hey, I have this threshold and I want to program it into PriceLabs. So PriceLabs allows you or gives you the opportunity to customize in any way you want to. You don't have to, but there are plenty of use cases that you may want to go in and have a different minimum for a different time period, or maybe be more aggressive during low season. Maybe go after the snowbirds during January and February. All of that can be programmed in there. Then we get into the automations. We sync it over automatically for you. If you're on Boom, we're going to send it over to Boom once a night, but you can also go in and automatically sync it yourself if you want to. Then following up on it, you're going to be able to use Price Labs and our portfolio analytics to analyze your key performance indicators, your pacing, your booking windows, all of that good stuff. So now I've done my spiel for Price Labs. Now it's time for the Boom spiel. So Chad, over to you. And I
Yeah,
think you can
so
click through here, but if you can't, just let me know and I'll take care of it for you.
yeah, not a problem. So this is actually just more of the actual kind of presentation, which we'll get into. If I can't click into it, I'll probably just share because I think there's some videos in here. But basically, what Boom is a full-blown PMS system with AI at the core. And what we truly believe is that AI really works its best when it has access to all the data, and it's going to allow you to start and end your business, with one system and not having to have all these plugins in this tech stack that we have, where you've got 5 or 6 different systems all plugged into one. So Kyle, I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Replace current share. And let's go to screen 2. And let's do slideshow at the beginning. There we go. So I'm going to talk to you guys about the agentic future of hospitality. And Kyle, I'm going through the whole slides here real quick, about 10 minutes. All right, cool. All right. So basically what I
Perfect.
want to talk about is where the industry is today And basically what it is labor costs are up about 23%, right? We've seen that year over year, increased labor costs. People are burning out. I've been in the vacational industry for, 16 years. And people are working 60 plus hours a week, right? 90% of daily tasks are still manual. Existing tools don't talk to each other, and AI is disconnected, which means it's missing data sources and PMS integrations. And so, we have a bunch of AI in the industry, and AI is a big buzzword right now, but a lot of it's just plug in AI. So it can do some things to your system, but it can't do everything. And that's really kind of where Boom comes into play and fixes that. So what we looked at is the leading 10%, the early success stories. So with using Boom, we see messaging automation achieving 80% response rate, review management AI is turning complaints into 5-star reviews. We have a full-blown AI agent for just reviews. We have one for sales. We have one for guest services as well. And your sales agent can actually work all your inquiries, negotiate with the guests, do follow-up, suggest alternatives, and so forth. And I have a video here I'm going to try and play. So I want to kind of show you real quick kind of how this works. If this is going to work, it's going to pull my Google Drive. Okay. And so basically what I want to show you here is the sales inquiry AI agent. So basically guests say, I have a nice house looking for a birthday for grandma, anything we can do about the price. AI can actually work this. Your AI is very customizable and how this works, and it will correspond with the guests. And you can set the sentiment of how you want to correspond with the guests, any discounts you want to let them do, all of this. And it's all very customizable. And you can actually train your AI agent to continue to learn your properties better. It can also show alternatives for the guests that may not work. That's on the sales side. After the guest does book, now we have an after confirmation AI support agent, which basically will give them access to our guest portal, where from there they can do store sales, add on, pool heats, early arrivals, late departures, which you can see a lot of revenue coming from those as well. And also AI can answer a lot of the daily questions that the guest is going to be asking. In this particular situation, the guest needs to know how to use the projector. On the property level, we have the information for how to use the projector. AI can actually send them a link to the video or pictures or documentation, whatever it is from there. So AI can have all of that readily available for them. We also speak in every language, in Japanese, Chinese, I don't know which language that one is, but basically AI will respond in the language that the guest is talking to and about as well. And in this situation, in Chinese, the guest put that the pool is dirty and a guest is unable to use it. AI will create the work order, it will snatch the vendor automatically, and then it'll update the guest in the language they prefer on the status of that work order once it gets completed and so forth. So this is just kind of showing you real quick how AI works and how things go. Also, our AI also works with an accounting as well. So from that pool service inquiry where the pool is dirty, you can see the $30 charge to where the pool filter was dirty, and the owners can see before and after pictures, and will automatically charge the guest or charge the owner. I apologize. On our after stay reviews as well, we also give you an AI agent that reads through all your reviews, Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking, Expedia, and Direct. AI will be able to respond to those reviews. It will also be able to link or tag the reviews based off of good or negative, green being good, red being negative. And from there, it's going to also be able to create service tickets off of reviews. So we become now more proactive than we do reactive on our reviews to make sure that we get stuff taken care of. And then we give you a full-blown analytical suite so you can dive down into all of these issues or positives as they come within real time. So that's just a quick summary and kind of showing you how we work on, lost my PowerPoint, how we work on our AI through the whole process. And now what I want to talk to you guys about is the agentic revolution and what we're starting to see in the industry, or what we're starting to see in the world that we believe can really impact our industry and how it works. So basically, agentic AI is, imagine talking to your system like a highly talented employee. You can talk to your PMS, you can talk to it and ask it anything and have it do anything within your system. And it can give you anything you want within minutes, seconds, and it can actually do things in your system. I know it kind of seems like a far way out, but we're actually there right now with agentic AI and how it's working. So you can bulk update, you can do strategic planning, and there's so many different ways that you can go through this and ask it whatever it is you want. So for example, I'm going to show you guys a demo of this, but for example, make my next quarter more profitable. AI can actually go in and look at your prices, launch promotions, cut costs, and it can coordinate all that amongst all platforms. Now, with that being stated, It can't adjust prices in PriceLabs. So I didn't want to price. I didn't want to mention that. Where am I bleeding money? AI can instantly show you high OTA commissions, underperforming units, maintenance overspends, and suggest fixes for you. And it also says a hurricane is coming. AI can handle everything from reaching out to the guest, rebooking the guest, making sure that all the maintenance prep work orders are input in the system and completed within a timely manner. So you basically just talk to your PMS and it will actually work for you within real time. So hopefully I have a video here. No, let me just play the video here then. My apologies. That link didn't work either. I was going to present it so I could just play the videos in real time. But this is going to be how you talk to your PMS. What percentage of my guests are repeat guests? We know with any normal PMS right now, that's actually a big lift to pull this out. Within a couple seconds, we can tell very quickly if 90,000 unique guests, 7,800 repeat guests. Now I'm going to ask the system, show me my repeat guest percentage by property. Again, it's going to query the database. It's going to look through everything. And it's going to go ahead and make this by property, repeat guests, total guests, by property, give you key insights, show you properties with no repeat guest bookings, and so forth. Give me a list of guests who stayed in 24 that have not rebooked in 2025, right? Again, that's kind of a big lift for us to pull right now in our day to day. Within a couple of seconds, AI will actually generate a list for you, give it to you in a CSV format at this point. This is version one, really where we're kind of heading to in versions 2 and 3 is now our goal would be to be able to create the email campaigns within Boom, go ahead and put these guests on drip campaigns and so forth and work through that. A couple other questions we ask it here. Kind of go through here, and we also give you, experts in each category. So we actually rename these. That you now have a CMO, a CEO. You also have a CFO, and you can actually ask it for different items throughout its specific. So on your CFO, if you have questions on accounting, you can ask it more in-depth questions. It's really trained to be your CFO for your business. So right here, I'm going to analyze my commission cost by platform. So I know here very quickly, within a couple minutes, how much I paid Airbnb, how much I paid booking, how much I paid in direct booking costs. And I know all of that within a couple of seconds. So this is kind of where we're getting to when we start talking about agentic AI and how we're going to be able to start talking to our system within real time and getting anything you want to have happen. Now, we just launched a new product called Playbooks. And what Playbooks is, it's going to be basically BAM, but on an automated process. So, for example, you want a report delivered to your inbox every morning at 8 a.m., and you customize the report through BAM. Every morning at 8 a.m., you will have this report in your inbox in the format that you want it. Or if you want to say, for every time a property is vacant for 28 days consecutively, go ahead and create a maintenance work order for an inspection, and BAM will go ahead and do that for you automatically. So the playbooks are basically a way for you to structure your entire business around it on the operational side. So BAM is going to be the one-off prompts. You can just talk to it, do whatever you want on the fly. Playbooks are going to be the things you need to happen repeatedly throughout your business so that it will happen. Obviously, this is version one of agentic AI. The goal here is that BAM will continue learning how you operate and how you do things, and it will serve you up reports without you having to ask because it will start understanding and knowing what it is you're looking for or things you're missing within your business. But you can ask it anything you want. I actually had a good, I was with a client the other day, and we asked it, give me my top 10 owners at risk of churning off program. It went through all the reviews, owner communication, revenue. It went through all of it and gave us a list of 10 owners at risk of churning, why they're at risk of churning, and a detailed game plan for how to correct that while I'm with that homeowner, how to be proactive with them. So that's really kind of what we're looking at when we start talking about agentic AI and the future of AI. In here. So basically, what we're envisioning in the industry is the new normal, where one person can successfully manage 25 to 40 properties. That's today. I do believe that number can continue to get higher and higher. But that's where we believe where agentic AI, we can really start managing, on a 1 to 40 basis. One employee for 40 properties, allowing AI to handle all your check-ins, your routine tasks, and then basically AI can also be proactive for emergency repairs. So, for example, if an AC unit hasn't been serviced in a 2 years, AI can start recommending tasks that need to get done to be in proactively and get in front of these properties. And this allows you to focus on growing your portfolio. So when we talk about growing, right now we're dealing with the mondoon task, the daily task. We kind of get in the weeds day to day. This allows us to take a step back from that and really focus on what matters to us, which is growing our inventory. Or if it's in your case, it could be in some cases it just wanting to get your daily life back. I was talking to a property manager yesterday who had 30 properties in Destin, one of my best friends, and she's like, I literally don't have time to breathe because I'm just getting so many correspondence. Like, why do you show you Boom? So and her goal is not to grow her inventory, just to kind of get her daily life back. So, that's also the kind of goal on it. And then the outcome is a 4.9 star rating, right? While enjoying a real work life balance. And that's really kind of where AI is going to come into play. Is our biggest metric we have in the industry is our review ratings, right? And that's something me and Kyle have talked a lot in depth about is it doesn't really matter, how you have your property priced. If you've got 3-star reviews on Airbnb, 10 of them, you can price it $100 a night and it's not going to book, right? So, really concentrate on the review scores and making sure we drive those. And this will allow you to have the growth without the grind on it. So basically, the agentic advantage, people plus AI, and this is not a replacement for people. This is to allow people to start thinking bigger, future, and more strategic. But you're going to most companies are going to see a 35% revenue increase. 60% time, 60% more time for strategy, 50% fewer emergencies, and 5x capacity management. So that's really kind of what Boom is working through and working on, and really trying to drive the business, drive your businesses forward. Um, so here's just some key takeaways, what we just kind of talked about. And if you guys have any questions, please put in the Q&A. My email is chad@boomnow.com. More than happy to answer any questions you have. If you want to demo, please schedule it with me. I would love to talk you through that. But that is Boom. That's kind of what we do, how we operate. And now I'm super excited to kind of get into the data of Florida and see what we can't do to drive Florida forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome, Chad. It was funny. As you were talking about this, I had a friend yesterday post something on LinkedIn, and he said that he was so excited to get to 100 properties, and then he remembered how painful it was when he got a message
Right.
at 4 a.m. asking whether or not his toaster had 2 or 4 slots in it. And that's just one of those little things, thinking about, like, man, the stuff that property managers deal with that
Right.
isn't necessary anymore with
Right.
what we have, and what Boom's building out is a great way of
Yeah.
communicating. Really like what you all are doing with bringing AI to the forefront. So give me one
Yep.
second. I'm going to share my screen back up. And again, for this presentation, we did kind of have a broad view of Florida. So we're going to talk about that, but we do have extra time. Thank you all for putting the location that you're at in here, because I did have some time while Chad was talking to build out some market dashboards. So if we get through this and we've got a little extra time, I'm going to hop in and us look specifically at Naples. My apologies, I don't remember who it was. Miss Chrissy. We'll kind of take a look at Naples maybe, and then I've also got one coming up for Palm Beach as well. So I don't think we'll have time for the rest of them, but if we get enough good feedback on these and you like the talks about Florida, who knows? Maybe Chad and Kyle get back together and we can hop into the micro segments and look at them that way. So again, real quick, a little bit about Boom and PriceLabs. Instant integration, super easy to connect. You do your pricing in PriceLabs, it goes to Boom. Boom then separates it out for you, sends it to Booking.com, Airbnb, Furbo, TripAdvisor, all of those places for you. You want to control your pricing in PriceLabs if you're there, but you can still use some of your AI tools in Boom to get those suggestions, take them back to PriceLabs and translate them as well. Some of the perks of doing Boom and PriceLabs together: dynamic pricing, rate automations for up to 500 days, so we can push up to 540. So that's a year and a half in advance that you can have your rates ready. So if you're down in Florida, you want to already have your rates ready for snowbirds next year. This is the kind of connection that can work for you. We also have dynamic minimum stays for you, check-in, check-out restrictions, forecasting, owner communication, all types of really, really useful things for you. But again, let's get into Florida. And kind of looking across the board at Florida, comparing this year to last year, we're seeing some downward trends for lower seasons, but we are seeing spring break heavily booking across the board. So kind of thinking about Florida in general, one of the things to point out here, where it's red, where the red is below the gray, that's saying that we're pacing behind. So for the month of October, overall, the state of Florida is pacing a little bit behind. Orlando's being hit pretty heavily. Chad, I don't know if you want to speak on the Panhandle or not right now, but I think Panhandle's down slightly. But one of the key things we're kind of seeing in Florida is those peak times are really, really high demand, regardless of where you're at. And the properties that are at the top end of the market, going back to what Chad was talking about, those 4.9 stars that have really nice amenities, really, really on top of their guest communication, they're the ones that are performing really well. If you're down here in the 4.1s, 4.2s, life is very difficult for you. You're having to either give a little bit on your minimum stay so that you're more bookable, or you're having to give on your rates a little bit because you're not as visible. So looking kind of overall occupancy wise, spring break's coming, it's gonna boom. From what I've seen, snowbird season's gonna be hit a little bit. If you're in a market where you have heavy Canadian travel, it does seem that some of that may be missing out this year. They may just fly right over the states and head on down to Mexico. But we can see that there's a lot of little trends here. So, Chad, what are you seeing kind of in the Panhandle? You live down there. What are you seeing occupancy wise, and what are you kind of predicting for the future?
Yeah, so realistically, kind of, I've been studying the Panhandle market quite a bit, and one thing I'm starting to see is we're still keeping rates, in my opinion, a little bit higher than kind of where they need to be. Is kind of what I'm seeing right now. I do think that let me see here. Let me look at the screen here. Yeah, so
This
I I do see that we're keeping rates a little bit higher than probably where they need to be, and what that's kind of driving is more that last minute booking window is kind of more so what I'm seeing. The market's going to obviously be variant based off property sizes and so forth like that, but I would really kind of challenge everybody on this call on your pricing strategy for 2026 is basically if a property set vacant or booked more last minute, don't hold out for higher rates this year. Just try to get a good solid rate and let's try to drive that booking window a little bit larger, right? We've really trained our guests for that last minute booking window on that side of it. Fall break, I thought fall break was good, but looking at Kyle's stats, it didn't look great. The October one. But realistically, what I'm seeing right now is a very similar year to 25 for 26. I'm not seeing a huge what I'm projecting to be a big growth. So it's going to be more of the proactive property managers that are really going to be able to gain occupancy than ones that may be trying to hold out and trying to hope for another 2022 year,
Yep,
21, 22.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's kind of across the board, regardless of the market. If we talk about like Miami and that general area, there's still a little bit of room for ADR growth, I think. And that's where you see the numbers kind of like these, like people that are booking out in June and July, and we're getting these really high ADRs. Those are the creme de la creme, the
Right.
top stuff that people are really, really looking for. Generally speaking, like how we see these 452s, 449s, the average property in your market is going to be need to be a little bit more towards this range. And I love what Chad's talking about with being realistic with your expectations. Particularly in price labs, if you have a property that's a little bit lower quality, or maybe it's just not really, that top tier one, definitely consider going in and looking at your peak season and seeing where your rates are falling. Use the last year's booked little checkbox that you can do, compare it there, and if you need to, consider putting a maximum on some of these rates. I think it's very important to continue maintaining, especially for far out bookings, maintain your minimum length of stays. You want to keep your calendar, you know as fully booked as possible. Going to a 2 night right now for June and July is probably not going to be advantageous for your overall revenue management strategy. But for October and November, you may want to go ahead and pull that back and start looking at pulling back your minimum stays, getting as visible as possible. I think kind of across the board, anything October, November, December, outside of the holidays that we've got coming up, New Year's, the Christmas, Hanukkah, Thanksgiving, all of those, you should probably really be looking at that minimum length of stay and getting it to whatever your bottom threshold is, in my opinion. There's still a little bit of opportunity for ADRs if you're at that high end of the market, but to me, work on pulling back that minimum length of stay lever for October, November, December outside of your peak months. Now we've talked a little bit about ADR, and that's a nice trend to see ADR growing. Typically, what we're seeing is those upper echelons that are really getting booked up. But the ultimate metric, in my opinion, when it comes to the simple revenue, like not looking at your fixed cost and everything as well, just looking at rate and the gross view, so to speak. Right here, RevPAR is super important, and that's your occupancy with your ADR combined. And what we're seeing is very similar to that occupancy trend. October is behind a little bit. So, kind of going with what Chad said, across the board for Florida, really, in my opinion, Orlando and Miami really hurt this view when it comes to October, and the fall break. I keep wanting to say spring break, um, and those fall break folks. But what we're seeing here between November, December, January, February, because there's a little bit higher ADR, we're seeing RevPAR growth. This may be reflective of your properties. It may not be, but this is something for you to strive for. So when you go into your Price Labs or whatever tool you're using to look at your metrics, go in and see how you're comping to this. If your RevPAR for these upcoming months is pacing behind where it was last year, it's time to make some type of a move. And again, I'm going to say, let's go and be as visible as possible. Try to get as many bookings as you can. But it's also really important during these time periods to communicate to your guests, to strive for those 5-star reviews. If you've got 5 people coming in over the next couple of months, all 5 of those people should be talked to. All 5 of them should be essentially begged for a 5-star review, because for us, to get to these rates, we have to maximize this time period too. That's very important. You want to have revenue coming in all across the board throughout the entire year. Um, anything to add on to that one, Chad, with RevPAR? I think you're a RevPAR proponent as well, and then if
I
not,
am.
we can move on to these length of stay trends as well because I
Yeah,
think
what,
they're
I think
interesting.
we move on to like the state trends. The biggest thing on, there's so many different metrics to look at. So RevPAR, RevPOR, all of them right from there. The goal here that I always try to recommend is not only looking at the market, how you're pacing the market, but also look at your inventory year over year and look on a by year analysis, because I've had some companies I've worked with in the past where they do have a smaller booking window, they have a larger booking window depending on the property type, and that can really skew it when you're only looking at the market. So make sure you're still maintaining your year over year comparison as well, and not just to market.
Absolutely. Great call out on that one. Now, talking about length of stay, this again is going to be very market specific. If we're going to Miami, you're probably going to have more of like a 2, 3 night type of a stay. I think that makes sense. Not a lot of us can handle 7 nights in Miami. Excuse me. Orlando, you're going to have a little bit longer stays. The beach markets going in the Panhandle, out in, the Jacksonville area, getting into Naples and places like that, you're going to want to have a little bit longer stay. Keep in mind, though, that what we're presenting here is an average. So for us to get to where in October we have a 6 night, and I'm kind of confused why this is 6 and this is 6, but they're not parallel, but we'll figure that out later. Um,
Like
to
6.4.
get to that 6, it's a combination of folks that are coming in with 2 night bookings and 3 night bookings, and then also getting some of those week-long stays and the multi-week stays and the monthly stays. So keep that in mind. And generally speaking, for your rate strategy, you want to get those longer stays farther out. And that kind of goes to what Chad's point was earlier, by tempering our expectations and keeping rates from spiking too drastically. It can help you really convert longer stays as well. So think about it this way. I could potentially get $1,000 a night and get a 4 night booking because this person is wanting to come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so to speak. Or I could come in and have my minimum stay at 7 and get $800 per night. Overall, that's better revenue. That's better for my calendar and all that. So it's a little bit of a toss up there, but the one thing to point out for Florida, the lengths of stay are staying fairly stable. We see a little bit of movement here, a little bit here, but for the most part, they're staying stable. Try to get those longer stays the further out, for your Mays, your Junes, your Julys. Please don't have a 2-night minimum stay right now unless your rates are just absolutely through the roof and you're going to get $5,000 per night. You should be trying for three, fours, fives, sevens if it works in your market. If you're unsure of what those booking windows are, log into your PriceLabs account. If you're not a PriceLabs user right now, reach out to Kyle. I'll log into an account and I'll help you out with it. But we can look at those length of stay averages. You can also look at your booking window averages right there in your tool inside of neighborhood data.
And Kyle, I might be mistaken here, but I believe Price Labs, I saw this when I was using Price Labs last week. You guys actually have a dynamic length of stay part of Price Labs, right? And I've never seen
We
that
do.
before. That's a huge advantage of something that Price Labs does offer.
Absolutely. And I didn't want to be too salesy in here with this, but that is one of the
No,
newer things we've come out with.
speak to it. And I brought that
Yep.
up because I've never seen in all my years of doing revenue management, 16 years, I've never seen where we can dynamically do length of stays, adjusting them based off of seasonality and that type of stuff. So I thought that was a really cool feature.
Absolutely. And now that we've done that, I'm going to hop out of here. I don't think I'm going to hop out of here. Let's go take a look kind of at what he is talking about. So I'm going to come over to my pricing
I've never
dashboard real quick.
seen it before. My 16 years, I've
Yep.
never seen it before, and it was really kind of exciting to see it.
I demoed this at Verma for a customer that was kind of like, hey, I've got this really hard structure to replicate. Like we go down
Yeah.
to 2 nights here, we go to 1 and 2 here, we go to 1 night, 5 nights out. We came in and we looked at this and it was very, very spot on. So what he's referring to right here are minimum stay rules. You technically have a custom ability to build this out however you want, but we've also got a dynamic engine now that looks at your hyperlocal market. So for example, right here, we're looking at short-term rentals. I've said I'll take a 1 night on weekdays, but I don't want a 1 night on weekends. Now I can come right here, review my recommended settings. There's a whole bunch of info up in here, but basically what it says is we're going to adjust this for you when we see market signals. And if you're not performing. So if you're performing poorly, we might move you from a 2 night to a 1 night. If you're performing really poorly, we might move you from a 3 night to a 1 night. But typically speaking, this is going to be really, really dialed in for you. So this property that I've pulled up right here is in Chicago, Illinois. Unfortunately, I don't have a Florida listing in my demo account right now. Big mistake on Kyle's part. Sorry, guys. But we can kind of see how this works. So for November, we're sitting at a 2 night average. We go to 3 nights if it's more than 3 months out, and we drop down to that 1 and 2 within 2 nights. We come down here and look at December, kind of the same thing. We're at 3 nights here, so it's 3 nights beyond 90, same rule. We're at 2 nights if it's within 1 month, but then we switch to that 1 and 2 within 6. Now, the reason for this is because December is not as, the occupancy is just not the same in December. If you know Chicago, it's cold in December, so less people are going. But this kind of shows you like even between November and December, PriceLabs is able to pick up on a trend and help you make an adjustment. You don't really even have to monitor this if you don't want to. Now, I would suggest coming in and verifying this, especially during your peak season. Make sure it's kind of what you're wanting in there. But I would absolutely recommend coming in here and checking out the dynamic minimum stays that we've got.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't trying to get salesy on it, but I just that to me is something that nobody else offers, and I really
I
thought that
agree.
was for part of the conversation we are talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now let's take a step back real quick, and I've got a couple of dashboards in here that we built out. So let's go into Naples, and we're just going to look at data live together, kind of look at some trends that are happening in the market. Chrissy, if you don't mind, I like doing these a little live. Do you care to throw in the chat? And I can't see. There we go. If you'll throw in the chat, what size bedroom property you might have most of, and we'll kind of look at it from that way. And if Chrissy's not able to respond here in the next little bit, we'll just go with like 3s and 4 bedrooms. But basically in here with our market dashboards, I've come in, I've looked at Naples. We've got about 1,000 listings around us right here in this dashboard. I didn't build out one that was too big. All right, between 3 and 6 bedrooms, 4 is safe. Thank you, Chrissy. So let's go ahead and let's just take a look at those 4s. So apply those filters. This will take 1 second to load. I shouldn't say 1 second, it'll take a couple of seconds to load. But when we dial into those 4 bedrooms, we can see on average 4 bedrooms for the Naples area are are hurting right now, so to speak, with total revenue. Specifically over the last 365 days, our RevPAR is down, our occupancy's down, and ADR is being driven up. So again, going back to that previous conversation, the top end of the market is really, really, really getting booked up. But I think this could be reflective kind of what Chad's saying too, which is, hey, year over year, there's not that much change, but there's a big increase in ADR requested. That could be driving this lower occupancy, which in turn is driving this lower RevPAR as well. But let's take a look over the last 30. And we see some very different trends here. So yes, occupancy's down, ADR is up substantially and it's helping RevPAR. So, so what this is kind of telling me within the Naples market and 4 bedrooms, if you are the top line, you're doing great, you're making great money. If you're at the bottom of the line, you're probably really, really suffering and finding it hard to get booked up. But I want us to look at some other metrics, and there's going to be plenty that we see here. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But I do think it's important for us to come down right here and look at our supply and demand in this market as well. So for 4 bedrooms, we can see over the past few years, there's not been much change with active listings. It's pretty much straight across the board. Everything's the same. If I look at October, we're averaging about 3 bookings per listing this year. If I come over to October of last year, it's kind of the same. There's not too
Is
much change there.
that bookings made in October or bookings stayed in October?
Bookings stayed in October.
Okay.
Yeah. So October of 2024, each of these 50-ish properties that we've got over here, they average 3.22 bookings. We're at 3.15. So there's not much change there. But what I would be willing to bet if we actually dove into these listings, I'd be willing to bet that those towards the top end have gone from 3 as an average to more of like a 4 or a 5. So what I
Right.
want to do real quick, I'm going to come to our comp sets and I'm going to do some quick work here. So I'm going to get us some 4 bedrooms and I'm going to make sure we're looking towards the top of the line. So I'm going to do at least 4.8. That took 3 listings off for me. So there's a lot of properties in here towards the top end of the market. Make sure it's got a review. So I've got good data. Wow. Look how much that
Wow.
changes. 0 reviews. So more than half of the listings that we're seeing on Airbnb right now haven't even been booked. So what this tells me is we've got a lot of bookings coming in on this segment of properties that I've got here. So I'm down to 19. And real quick, I'm just going to make this a comp. This will take just a second. I appreciate you all watching me make the sausage, so to speak. If you've been on these webinars with me, I shout her out every time. Miss Jennifer Brown, I love you. I miss you. You're a great boss. She always told me never to do data live, like don't show it live. Buddy, I've messed up so many times going live, but I still kind of disobey her and do it occasionally. So let's hope this works out. All right, this will take just a second. But what's going to happen now with the market dashboards? We're going to be looking at those 4 bedrooms that are performing really, really well, so to speak, high value. Estimated revenues really, really high. There is a big discrepancy there. Notice though, with these properties, that the ADRs actually come down on some of these also. We look at the next 30, or the last 30 should say, everything looks really, really good. ADR is extremely high for this time period. So if you were getting that October booking for fall break, you probably got a pretty good ADR for it. We gave a little bit on occupancy, but now I'm going to come back down and let's look at how they've been performing again. So we're down to those 19 listings, averaging 3.16, 3.19, so about the same, not too much change when it comes to the average booking between these. If we look ahead at how they're performing, this is really, really important. And my apologies, I meant to show you this future occupancy chart with the full 4 bedrooms, but now we're looking at those that are kind of towards the top end of the market, the 4.8 stars. And I want to call out where we're winning. So if we look right here, anywhere where the gray is above the red, that means the market's pacing behind. Red above the gray, the market's performing better. So we can look right here through November. Early November is tanked. We were at 62%. It was at 31%. So, Chrissy, if you want to make some adjustments here, if you're not using Price Labs, hit this midweek November time, get your rates down. It's going to need to happen. But we can look right here and say, hey, that next following week, total opposite. It's performing really well. So it's interesting to see this and to understand what's happening in your market, when you might need to pivot. If you're doing things manually, you're going to have to go in here and recognize this and pull that lever yourself. If you're not, PriceLabs is going to be there to kind of take care of you for it. So let's kind of take a look back over here. We get into New Year's, market's at about 70% occupied. So out of those 19 really kind of top end listings we've got in Naples that are 4 bedrooms, you've probably got 5 or 6 of them that are left, maybe 4. Trying to do rough math in my head. Get over to spring break. Oh, buddy, if you've still got one of these 4 bedrooms available in March, the rates could be higher, in my opinion, specifically to this. Now, if we're talking about a studio, a 1 bedroom, a 2 bedroom, you're probably going to need to follow along with what Chad said, and let's temper our expectations. When you see something like this, though, where, okay, for this first week in March, the market's already at 75% occupancy, that's essentially saying out of these 19, 15 of them are booked. Your competition is really, really small here. So I would say for the next month or so, try to get one of these high bookings in here. And then if not, now let's start looking at tempering it back there. But all the way through March, Naples is looking incredibly solid. You should be able to really, really maximize this time period here in Naples. So let's hop out real quick. And I'm going to hop into Palm Beach. Now, I did see in the request that it was Palm Beach County. Fortunately, I'm not super familiar with the layout of Palm Beach County, so I just kind of drew a general area. This might include West Palm Beach as well, but I want to look at that same area that we were just looking at. So let's come down here, kind of do our comparison again. Active listings overall, again, this is for the whole market that we see. I've put in 3,400 listings here, but I'm going to bring this one down to 4 beds. And what we're looking at overall, the market's at 2.37 bookings. So on average, regardless of your bedroom size, you're getting 2.5 bookings for the month of October is essentially what we're seeing. Now, when we narrow it down to those 4s, follow similarly, 2.4, so to speak. We do have a plethora of them in here, though. So we've got 331 of these active listings. We come down and look at our charts. Again, there's not too much discrepancy. This week is just down across the board. It's looking like with Florida. We get over here into January 1st. Market's pretty much the same as it was. And March looks pretty good right here. Obviously, each weekend's up a little bit, but it's not crazy up. So if we're looking, if I'm a general 4 bedroom in the Palm Beach area, I'm 100% taking Chad's advice on this and saying, hey, let's temper expectations. I'm not going to shoot for the stars with ADR, so to speak. But again, I'm going to build out a comp real quick towards the top end of the market. So let's go ahead and get our 4s, do 4.8. So we're at 261 right now. Let's see how many of these bad boys don't have a review. Nowhere near as many on this one. So that's nice. Good to see there. And just for safety's sake, I'm going to say I don't want anybody in here that makes less than $100,000. So I'm going to use that as a filter as well. So that takes me from 230 to 51 properties. I'm going to come in here and check this now. And now I'll pull this up and we'll take a look at those high-end 4 bedrooms, see how those perform. And while this is loading, Chad, if you've got anything that you've picked up in your markets that you want to spitball, any property managers you want to shout out or anything like that, feel free. Just kind of fill in dead air at this point.
Call, but Stanton played lots of the call. I know Stanton really well. No, I mean the market. The biggest thing I've seen in our market year over year is when you have very unique inventory. Obviously, make sure that we price it well, price it. It's going to book, but also don't book out too early, right? If we book out too early, we've got money on the table. But the biggest thing I keep pushing the property managers is just make sure that we are being very realistic in our expectations. And also the biggest thing on that side of it, when we're saying being realistic, is understand your owner expectation and what it is that they want. I've had some homeowners that want 365 nights booked a year. It was a 712 house. We got to book 360 nights a year, and he was thrilled. Even if it was like $200 a night in the off season, he was thrilled. But set your owner's expectations, understanding what the owner expectation is, and make sure that you can deliver upon that. That's going to also help you with the retention. Obviously, our goal here is that we are trying to, maximize our revenue for the company, but we have to do that by making sure we meet owner expectations. So I just want to kind of put that out there.
Absolutely. I think that's a very valuable point. Um,
Someone
real
love
quick,
that.
real quick, looking at the average bookings. So when we look at October of 2024, we're at 4.69 average bookings for October this year, which is not complete. So this 3.3 should go up slightly, but we can see that those average bookings are coming down. That's very easy to see. Hey, occupancy is hit, so to speak. But let's take a look at what's coming up in the future. And we talked about this time period. It's still down, but it's not down as much. So again, if you're towards that top end, and what I'm getting here, what I'm getting at with this top end talk is striving to be like these people. Even if your condo or your single family home is not necessarily like the creme de la creme, we can we can pretend to be that creme de la creme, so to speak. So like going in, making sure that your amenities are matching those people towards the top of the line, that you're communicating well, that you're setting your expectations with your owners and your guests can help you get to that point, even if the property doesn't necessarily look and feel like $1 million. You can still get the listing rolling like it's $1 million. And what we can kind of see over here, again, March and April, when we looked at the overall 4 bedrooms, they were performing well versus the market, but that performance is coming from this higher end. So like for right here, we can see the market is up 41% from last year when it comes to these higher end properties. It's a trend that we're seeing across the board when it comes to guests wanting to stay at nicer places, also wanting to stay at places that are complete, thorough. Making sure that you've got essentials checked is kind of important now. Like I don't want to have to travel with shampoo. That was a joke, Chad. You're supposed to laugh. I don't travel with shampoo anyways, but like people don't want to have to travel with that stuff. So right now is a really good time. Spring break's going to be great for you, regardless of where you're at in Florida. Now is a great time to kind of do those quick checks, make sure everything's set up well, that you're optimized. And now I get into a little bit of a sales pitch. If you're unaware of it, we do have a new tool coming out at the end of the year or at the end of this month. It's called Listing Optimizer. This is essentially going to be your ability to go in, look at the photo quality, the description quality, the title, all of that stuff. Get a rating. Just as a quick view of what we've got here. Here's the listing. We can see that we've got a title of a C here, kind of see why. But basically what you're going to have is another tool in your repertoire, if you're with PriceLabs, to come in and really make sure that your merchandising is primo for you. And with that, I think we'll hop off and see what we've got
Yeah,
in
so we've got
Q&A.
we got a couple of questions. Dave wanted to know, is there a video on building these drum sets?
There is a video on building that comp set. Thank you, Dave. I'll make sure that we get that out to you. Let me take a note real quick. We will get that out to you. And in all honesty, once we send out the recording of this, I'll go ahead and get our PriceLabs team to send out that comp set video for everybody so you can see it as well. It's
And then,
really, oh, go ahead.
no, Dave had another question, but go ahead, keep
Yeah,
going.
I was going to say it's really important. It's really important to have those insights, and when you can go into your tool, like if you want to be hands-on with Price Labs, building out comp sets towards those people that are at the top end of the market that you want to strive to be, as well as that bottom end of the market, can be really important because I want to make sure too, like when I'm going in and doing an analysis, I want to comp versus the top end, and then I also want to look at what the bottoms are performing and make sure I'm not getting down into that area. So basically, you can go in there and do anything that you'd like with it, but we'll definitely make sure of that. And Chrissy asked for the listing optimizer. It will be an add-on to Price Labs per property. I don't know the exact cost right now. It's been in beta testing, but essentially it's going to be a pay per run type of thing to where you can either put your Airbnb individual listing in there or your entire Airbnb portfolio, so to speak. Right now, the optimizer is solely based off of that Airbnb connection, though. So if you're strictly direct booking or you're strictly Verbo, you may not be able to use it right off the rip, but it's a very, very useful tool. We debuted it at Verma, and
I'm happy about another
man,
payment.
we had 250 to 300 people standing outside of that little section thing, and it was great. So yeah, we'll work on that, and then later down the line as well, we're working on a completely different offering to where everything will be included in one package for you. But we'll get there with that one. So all right, well, thank you all so much for this. Dave, another payment. LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully. I mean, I'm repping PriceLabs right now. We'll figure all of that stuff out, but I kind of agree. I'm not a big fan of the individual stuff, but yeah, we got that taken care of for you. So, and then Dave, you mentioned that you're really interested in seasonal customizations for Florida. If you don't mind, reach out to support@pricelabs.co. Somebody on our product specialist team will actually be able to take a look at your listing, maybe give you some suggestions, and at the very least, maybe hop on a call with you and get that dialed in for you. So, Chad, do you have anything else you want to add to us
Well, I
before we
appreciate
boogie?
everyone's time today. Hope to do more of these in the future. So thank you for putting all that side together, Kyle. That was good information on Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to my Price Labs team for the help as well. Folks, if you all have any interest in us breaking these out into more region specific type stuff, just let us know. Send some emails to support@pricelabs.co saying, hey, we need some more specific type stuff. We'll get that taken care of for you. So thank you all again for joining us. Chad, it's been a pleasure as always. I'm Kyle. If you have any
Well,
questions, support@pricelabs.co, or you can reach out directly to me, kyle.driscoll@pricelabs.co. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful day.
thanks, guys.
All right. Logging out. See ya.